Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. This video is taken from a Twitch stream I did. You'll find links for Twitch down in the description. I was working on a feature for my library test data bot, authoring in TypeScript. We ended up having a really good chat with some people on stream about the API design decisions we were making, the future of the API, and some potential changes we might want to make the API clearer in the future. Thanks so much to Paul and Keith for their suggestions on stream. I hope you enjoyed the video. Any suggestions, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Thanks. But today I had a little bit of open source work I wanted to do on a library I maintain called Test Data Bot. Let me just find the GitHub issue. Someone, this chap, GPX Giorgio, opened an issue saying that often he wants to create multiple instances. So the way Test Data Bot works is you define what's called builders to build fake test instances of objects. And sometimes he wants to create, say, 3 of them, but also suggests an API where you might want to say that you're building 20 of them. And you don't want to manually type, or you have to sort of manually loop through and generate 20 of them, or do the sort of array.from length 20 map, that kind of thing. So they suggested, would it be useful to have an API for this in Test Data Bot? And I think this is a really good idea. So I thought I would implement it now, have a play with what the API will look like, write a few tests for it, and just generally sort of show you my workflow for doing that. It's the kind of thing I find interesting. I really like watching people sort of maintain their open source projects and see their workflow. So I hope it's interesting to you. As always, any questions, anything you want to add, please drop it in the chat. I've got it on a second monitor here, so I should see it fairly promptly. Okay, so what I'm first going to do is create a test. So let's just take this one. Actually, this looks like a reasonable one to start with. I'm just going to put it at the end. Whoops, I've pasted it in the wrong place. There we go. So we're going to say here we're going to have a test where we can create multiple instances of a builder easily. That'll do for now. So we have this builder. Name is hard-coded Jack. That's fine. So what we're trying to figure out here, if I get rid of this assertion, is we're trying to figure out an API to have many users created. And I think the person who created the issue, gave us some sort of starting ideas. So they suggested one of these, userbuilder.times, userbuilder times 20. I can also think of a third one where we expose a function called build many, and that's a userbuilder 20. And I'm trying to figure out really which one is best. To these, or if there are other ideas for which for an API that would work here. So one of the reasons I like writing the test first in this particular type of work is that we can very easily kind of play with the API before committing to one particular approach. And so I think these are the 3 sort of main options. There is some precedent for this first one because I think, is there a build or a map method on a builder? Or is it post build? I think there is like a post build method. I know you define it. Okay. So this if we sort of look at each of these in turn, the sort of downsides of this first API is that we do have to add a method to the user builder function. Now I think we do that if I remember. It's been a while since I sort of worked on this code base. Yes, we do expose this reset method here on a builder. So there is some precedence for that. I don't love the fact that we return a function, but then we just casually dump this reset method on it. It is valid JavaScript to do so. Don't love it. Equally, don't completely hate it. Now this one where we don't add any custom function, but we add a configuration property. I like that as from an API point of view. What I don't like, though, is that it turns the type that a builder returns when you call it into either it's going to become user or an array of users. I think we could probably do some clever TypeScript stuff to override it and say if you're called with arguments that includes the times property, then you're going to return an array rather than an individual item. So maybe we could get around that with TypeScript. But what I don't want is for people now for this, I want this user's type to know that it's an array, whereas I want to know if we just do that it's an individual user. And so we'd have to make sure TypeScript was happy with that. And off the top of my head, I don't immediately know how to do that. I guess here we define builder. Yeah, so this just returns one object. I just got a notification, noise in my ear, but I didn't get any pop-up on the screen. So I'm not sure what just happened there, if someone has subscribed or chatted. But thank you, whoever that was. But I can't actually see what happened. I just heard the noise. But whatever you did, thank you. It's appreciated. I used to have them popping up on the screen. I'm not quite sure why that seems to have broken. My alerts theoretically are configured, but maybe they're wrong. Anyway, we'll leave that for now. Okay, so that is an option, but I don't like the fact that we might have to get complicated with TypeScript's APIs. And this one I don't like exposing the times on the end, but I could deal with that. This one I like because we don't have to change anything about builders. This isn't breaking any existing API. It doesn't change any existing types. I guess the downside is it's another method for people to have to import. Whereas with this middle case here, this one, once you've got a reference to the builder, you can just call .times on it. So if I'm calling the builder and then I want to change it into one where I generate loads, this is maybe easier than having to import a different function. I think either of these is a decent API. I guess the question with both of these as well is, how do we let people override them? So when you create just a regular builder, in here I can say overrides, and I could say name is, say, Bob. And that will create a user where the name isn't Jack as per the builder, it's Bob instead. And I think if you're generating things 20, it would be nice to be able to say here, say overrides name Bob, for example. So maybe we need to think about that case as well. I mean, TypeScript is not going to be happy here because it doesn't know what any of these are, but just for my sake, I want to play with that. So then if we're using the build many function, I guess the question is, where does this go? Maybe this is 20 and then you have the config and then you have the builder. That's kind of weird. Maybe it is instead the builder first, followed by a config that includes maybe times 20 and overrides name Bob, something like that. In which case I'm thinking this might be a nicer API. Yeah, so the more I look at this, first API implies is mutability. Is that because we're dumping the times function onto the user builder already, which is itself a function? Because all of these would be, yeah. I feel like the second one is maybe cleaner and sort of sticks to the idea of you have data and functions. So we'd have a function taking in some data. Maybe that's nicer. I do like the idea though that you can call times and just give it 20 and it reads really nicely. But maybe we could support that config and we could support like additional stuff here if we wanted to. Is that confusing having two APIs? I mean, maybe we just make it that. Maybe it is just, and then overrides goes in here. I mean, maybe it's just that. I wonder if I'm overcomplicating it, trying to support multiple types. Okay. Yeah, Keith. Firstly, hey, thanks for dropping in. Secondly, I think you convinced me that maybe the nicest of this API I don't like because we're dumping times on. I do wonder if in time I'll come to regret having this reset here, but we'll see. Maybe not. Okay, so let's go with this then. And for now, we're just going to do that. We're not going to worry about any overrides or stuff. We'll do that as a separate test. Yeah. So I agree. You're basically the inner monologue in my head here because we're thinking about loads of the same things. So you're suggesting probably that we'd have like this, and then obviously anything extra can go in there. Whereas the alternative is we have something that looks something like that with stuff in there. So the reason I like this top one is because I think most of the time if you're creating, let's say 20, I don't think you'd be passing in different options. It's weird to me to create 20 all with a certain override, but maybe you would. Maybe I don't know enough. Maybe this becomes the default, but we do support this sort of shorthand. Okay, yeah, all right. I'm glad you're here, sort of winning me round on the API design. So I think what we want to do is we're actually going to support both these because I think that is a really nice shortcut. But then this would have any additional config would go in there. So we don't support 3 arguments. We just support 2. So let's say to do pass in times 20 would be another test. Yeah, so normally if you were building just one of these, you could do that. It would be user builder and it would say override name Alice. But what we want to do is if we actually just do that here, so we say like overrides, whatever. The issue then is you're going to get 20 of the same objects, 20 of the same object. Whereas we don't want that. We want 20 different objects, even if they all happen to have the exact same keys and values within them. So I think that we want to take the builder, but then we want to also take the config separately so we can call it. I think. I think that's the way we're going. Yeah, and this allows us more flexibility in the future, perhaps. And ultimately, the other, people can do this already. Like you could say array from length 20, return user builder, and like that will work. So really, we're just providing a slight shorthand for that. So I think let's go with this. Let's go with this. Okay, so t.same. So what's my assertion going to be here? My assertion is going to be users.length 20. Okay, and it has no idea what this is because we haven't even defined build many yet. Okay, so this is going to be a function we export. I think when I built this library initially, I really liked arrow functions at the top level, but I think I actually prefer functions now. So I'm just going to define it as a function. I don't really know why I think that. I think I've just sort of switched slightly. I think I've maybe found them slightly more readable. Okay, and we're going to take a builder of some type T. So this will be T. And we're going to take, for now, we can just say we're going to take a count, which is a number, and we're going to return an array of T. So T here will be user. Okay, let's get these tests running. So I have a little Vim plugin I wrote called executor.mvim, which you're about to see has loads of bugs. In fact, you can see the rendering of the cross down there in the command line is a bug. Or maybe that's a bug with the font I'm using. I don't really know terminals and fonts, who knows? Okay, cannot find name build many. That's fine. So, whoops. Can I fix this? Yeah. Yeah, I just need to stop with these fancy symbols. Okay. Let's just return an empty array for now. So we should get failing, and we should see that error should be equivalent 20 and 0. Okay, great. Really wish tap didn't have as many sort of empty lines here. Paul, the argument against user builder times is primarily just the fact that I don't personally love the idea that user builder is a function and then we dump an additional property onto it, which is a function that you can call. It just feels a little bit messy to me. I think this is certainly subjective. Yeah, not objective, subjective. Always get those mixed up, which is not good. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, you could also swap times for like repeats. I mean, we could redefine any of mess name. I just don't really like it. I think if I were going back in time and recreating this library from scratch, I think I would love it if user builder were actually just an object that had methods on it, such as build, and then you could say build, or you could say user builder.build many. Like, that's a nice API. Now I'm wondering if I should do that. But the issue is, because I made the decision that user builder is the function, I then don't like that you have that or you have this. I feel like it should be one or the other. Maybe this is a sort of V3. I think the library is V2 at the moment. Maybe this is a V3. Actually, maybe it is V3. Maybe this is a future version where we do the breaking change, because you could easily support this and the incumbent sort of approach for a while. But I do agree times is a bad name. Build and build many. This is really the API I want, I think. Yeah. Yeah, Paul, as I said, Paul, yeah. I totally get it's a valid approach, and loads of people probably wouldn't have an issue with it, but I think I don't like it for now. But then now you're putting ideas in my head. So from the moment I typed out this API where user builder isn't the function, it's just a thing that contains these functions, I really like that idea. So maybe that's the way I want to go longer term. In which case, maybe we should put build many onto the builder, and we'd sort of head more in that direction. Because if we supported user build.build many, it'd be fairly easy to then introduce this. And you could have a period of time, you know, a few versions where both these worked, and then long term you would try and move people onto that. But then that's a big breaking change in this library, which actually quite a few people use. And so is that just a silly breaking change to make for the sake of it? Yeah, so there's a few top level ones, Paul. So you've got these like helpers. So sequence per build, bool, which is just a shortcut to one of, then one of, and that's it. So yeah, so those are the top level, which again is kind of messy. I think in an ideal world, I'd do something like import build from test data bot, and then I'd have import one of from test data bot / generators or something like that. Because all the top level imports that are sort of different things is a little bit odd. But again, sort of Jack of, when did I think I maybe wrote this library 2 or 3 years ago. Jack of 3 years ago would have built it slightly differently. But maybe I go build many on the function to not have yet another. Yeah, you know what? I'm convincing myself round, because what's weird here is you have let me just get rid of these for a second, but I want to paste them down there so I don't lose them. So in this world, if we just look at this, the body of this test and ignore everything else, what's kind of messy is that build creates a builder. So you call the build method to create a builder, but then you call the build many method to build many instances of a builder, which is weird because build generates a builder, but build many doesn't generate builders. It calls builders to generate objects. So then you've got build and build many, but they kind of do different things. Yeah, so that build and build many have in this design have a really, users I think of this library will see a big relationship between them, but they actually do completely different things. It feels bad for sure. So yeah, I agree with you on that one. Whereas I think if you have user builder.build many 20, maybe that's better. Oh, clone, interesting. Let's play. Okay. Yeah, really the issue is this build should have been like create builder. And build not take a second. No, build doesn't. So build just takes an object which tells it how, like, all the fields and stuff that will exist for that builder, and it gives you back the builder. When you call it, you only ever pass in one argument. Yeah, the sort of build time configuration. And there I was worrying that we wouldn't yeah, I think this is bad naming previously coming into play here. Because I think here build... Yeah, the mistake was calling build. It should have been create builder or something like that. Build builder, just to be confusing. But anyway, we can't really change that right now. At least not with a lot of sort of deprecation warnings in intermediate versions, which feels a bit silly. Clone kind of works. It's sort of the issue is clone isn't terminology that's used. I'm really heading in this direction now. And then long term, we can try and support user builder.build. Or maybe build single. Yeah, okay, let's go with this for now, because to be honest, I want to get something, I want to get a test passing. Whoa. Okay, I'm trying to learn folds in Vim and I'm just failing massively, and let's just ignore that. Right, so we have builder.reset down here. Let's just define builder.build many. Sorry, Keith, I have seen it and will think about what you just said. Let me just type out where my thought process was at. Do we have a T there? Cannot find name T. Is it factory result type is my generic at this point. Okay. So following what Paul says, what if you had build many user times 20? So yeah, so you wouldn't need the generic. Hang on a minute. So So you're saying something like this, and the question is what goes here. So most likely it would have to be user builder. Something like that. But then we kind of loop back round, if I've understood you correctly, so please say if I haven't. Yeah, the escaping in the pop-ups is fun, but I'm glad it's happening. The issue there is, yeah, that this confusion between what build, if I just delete the argument so we can get it in one line. These do very different things despite the fact they're named really similarly, and I think that's confusing. Oh, I've just whacked the mic. Build many returns n users, where each user is built by the user builder. Whereas build creates a user builder. That's the confusion here. Whereas build many builds users each created by the build user builder. So build. Oh, I see what you mean. So build many would return n builders. So this would just become, let's say, like, what is it? Fields, name Jack, whatever. And then you'd have. Yeah, so I was always thinking about this as you create the builder and then you want to call loads of them. Yeah, so that would work as an API. I think the issue that I can see with this is, I think most people will, I think most people will have a builder defined, because I think there will be tests where you just want a single user, and there will be tests where you want a bunch of users in an array, maybe to mock out a database result or something, a query. And so I think it's weird that if I want to create 20 users, I now need to create 20 builders rather than just take the builder I already have and use that. Yeah, Keith, I don't blame you for being confused, because the whole concept of builders versus instances, and the fact that the build method doesn't create instances, it creates builders, it is 2 or 3 years ago Jack bad. I think. If I remember rightly, I did it whilst in the evenings after skiing, which probably means I'd had a couple of beers by the time I sat down to write this. Whereas I haven't had any beers today, so maybe that's helping. So yeah, let's back out of this. We're just gonna have to deal with the fact that previous Jack made some non-ideal design decisions. Build many does exist. It's there. Yeah. Build many does not exist. I thought I had defined it right here. Anyway, yeah. So Paul, I agree with you. I like this API. Yes, exactly that, Keith. Which is confusing. Yeah. I think, Paul, if we move to a world where you have this, or maybe even literally build single, the reason you need to build single is you want one that returns just the user, not a user, like, because build single is different from build many with one, because that would just give you an array of one. So I think if we define build many like this, I think this API is probably an API we want to get to and probably migrate people to in time. But I agree it's a little weird that it doesn't exist right now. Okay, but I think we're going to go. I think this makes the most sense, but I appreciate us talking through all of this. Okay, that's gone. Okay, what's now left for me to figure out is why build many isn't defined. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Yeah, so part of me is even like, do we even need this API? Do we just let people do this? But I think it is quite nice to have it as a little convenience method. Feels a bit neater, keeps the tests a little bit cleaner. Yeah. Okay, right. I'm gonna implement this because this is really what I want. Okay. Oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm being silly. Okay, so the build.reset is that. Okay, so we do want this. Build many. Yeah, because there's reset. And we define build many. Okay, I feel like this does exist, TypeScript, if I'm honest with you. Property build many does not exist on type builder user. But if I can call user builder dot reset, that does exist. So why doesn't this, have I typoed build many? No. Many is 8. Yeah, so I don't mind the name many. The issue then is if in the future we want single, do you just have build? Maybe you just have build or like one. Yeah, maybe we do just do many because you've got builder in the name, but then that name is entirely up to the user what they call it. But most people I think call them builders. One, yeah, I do quite like one and many. Okay, let's rock with that. Now my question is why it's not happy that this many doesn't exist. Property many does not exist on type builder user. I totally think it does. I really think it does because there's reset. So build returns a builder here. So user builder is a builder of type user. This, oh, there you go, builder has many. So yeah, you can see here, if we look at this definition for builder, this is the function that you invoke to get an individual builder. This is the reset and this is the many. Does build a new definition? Yeah, maybe it does. Yes. Nice, thank you. Many. So excellent, thank you, Keith. I'd have lost a lot of time on that. Okay. Okay, this is erroring for the right reasons. Where was I? I'm so bad at Vim. Okay, so we're basically going to do the trick that Paul put. So we're going to return array.fill. No, new array 20.fill. New array 20.fill. Where 20 is replaced by times. And this will just be builder. You're going to go green? They're going to be happy? It is. Nice. We should probably assert that all of these users are actually users. Because else I could just be generating a list of anything here. So thanks. So executor is available. It's weirdly on the Google GitHub thing because that's is easier to open source that way rather than do extra legal hoops, which I don't really want to do. It's rough around the edges, as you could probably see, but yeah, it is functioning, and I do use it now every day at work and for my own stuff, and I'm quite happy with it. There's a few things I need to do, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So feel free to take a look. It's also the first time I've worked a lot with Lua, which is how you now script or can script Neovim, which is fun. Yeah, genuinely, Paul, easier to publish to the Google GitHub org than it is to publish to my org personally, which is strange. Test Databot is on my org because I created it way before I worked at Google, and therefore it's mine, and there's no sort of Google involvement. Yeah, it was fun. I should probably do some. Yeah, I think it is that Google technically owns it, but which is fine. It's just open source. I could at any point, if I wanted to, do the process to take ownership myself. I don't think that would have been an issue for what it's worth. I just think it was more hoops that I didn't really need or want to jump through. Quite happy with it to be here currently. Okay, so let's just do. Oh no, we don't have any instance of, do we? T.same user name Jack. Did I just delete? I did just randomly delete stuff, didn't I? Then we need T.end. Yeah, the open source pages are just, it's a challenge sometimes to figure them out. Okay, great. So that is working. We can get rid of this method. So we now have builder.many, which takes times as a number. Yeah, brand checks on builders would be cool. I agree with that. We now need to do more API design. So what we need to be able to say is something like this. So this is the exact same. If I call one of these builders and pass in an object, we can say overrides name Bob. So we need to support that exact configuration object for these users. So this is going to be config, and we'll pass in the config there. We know what this is actually. This is just build time config of the factory result type. No, expected one argument, but we've got two. Oh, I need to update the definition, don't I? This is kind of annoying that I have to update this in two places, but I suppose I'll get over it. Okay, config. This is optional as well, actually. Need to make sure it's optional. I cannot type. Build time config, factory result type. And just to make this mirror up, let's call it build time config as well. Build time config. Nice. Okay, and let's check that works. Great. Okay, I think that is. Trying to think of the name of anything else we support. I guess we should do a test to make sure the traits will work, but I mean they are going to because we're not actually implementing them. Can create multiple instances with traits. And we'll go traits. I can't remember how to implement traits. Overrides. Is it that? I've got to the point now where I can't even remember the API of my own library, which probably says something traits. Build Bob. Now this should work because we basically take that config and pass it through to Undesign and build it. Yeah, great. Okay, so I think that is. Did I even check out a branch of this? No. mean, that's it, I think. Let's just do some readmeing, and then we'll get a CL up. The syntax highlighting for this markdown seems way off. Like, why are links not being highlighted? And that's like, it's got some syntax highlighting, but doesn't seem to have as much as I would expect. Like here. Yeah, we are markdown. Anyway, I'll deal with that at some other point. That's to do for me. Okay, you can use the reset method. Randomly picking bool. Yeah. Let's just put that there. Bit of an improvement. Per build. It's so confusing that we have build and per build. I think build is going to have to be renamed to create builder at some point. That would be an easy migration, and it would just clear up the API a lot. Hard to log these GitHub issues in a minute, I think. Okay, let's put it in here. I think that makes sense. Creating multiple instances. Yeah, I agree on the extra keystrokes. I do also wonder if we just name build to like create. So then you create builders and then you build the builders. So I kind of feel like the vocabulary is all off. The sort of the actions are wrong. Maybe you build a builder and then you call create on it. I like the name builder. Construct, because you construct a who knows. Anyway, it's build for now. User builder.many 20. That's nice though. I do really like this. Just want to check what version we're actually on. Okay, we're on version 2, so we could ship a new version. You can, which takes exact configuration, which takes the exact same configuration as calling user build directly. We don't need the wood. Override name Bob. Okay, great. So that's the docs done. Still think there's some weird stuff going on with the syntax highlighting here, but anyway, that's annoying me. I'll figure it out later on. Maybe it's tree sitter. Who knows? Sometimes Neovim, I run the sort of development branch of Neovim, so sometimes things like this can happen. It's fine. It's all perfectly readable. Okay. Great. Okay. Implement builder.many. And this fixes, what number was it? 894. Okay, great. Oh, thanks, Paul. Just saw your comment. Nice. That should run the tests against node 18, 16, and 14. So let's write up some issues. This is fine. So it's confusing. Use build to create a builder. I really cannot type today. Think of some options. So I do like the idea of create builder. I also quite like the idea of construct. I don't like making big breaking changes to open source libraries that, you know, at least I don't know the stats on how many people use this, but at least some people use it. However, it would be a very easy rename. Are code mods still a thing? Were they a thing that the React team did? Is this still something that's kind of supported? 2022, maybe not. Oh, these are just code mods for React APIs. Was it just generally like code mods? JavaScript? JS code shift. Okay, it still seems to be sort of vaguely supported. Okay, nice. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, so just wondering, you could ship this as a sort of breaking change and provide a code mod for it. Although you'd ship it with a deprecation warning, not it actually broken, and provide a code mod. And then you'd probably want to support that for a period of time before then kind of removing build in a new module. Okay, so I guess you... Okay, find foo in it. Okay, so this would be... Nice, this is a cool API. I guess this would be something like, rather than find variable, would be find function calls or something. Yeah, okay. Anyway, I'm not going to do that now. I think that's certainly a good road to go down. And I think the other idea we've had is So you can call the result build directly. So that's gives you a user, but you can also call reset. And with, is it 899? I think it was 899. Okay. The more I look at the one and many API, the more I think that's a really nice API. Again, that works well. It's clear. One and many are nice and short, so it's not a vast amount of extra characters. Make sure this is actually passing. It is passing. Great. So, yeah, I think we'll probably will go down that road. Yes, there's a few. We're on version 2. Is that where we're at? Yeah, version 2. Okay, so landing many isn't a breaking change, so we can do that whenever we release a new patch version or minor version. It would be, but the others obviously would be breaking changes. Is adding a deprecation notice a breaking change? I guess not. It would be kind of annoying. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Paul. I think you would say at the very least you would do that for a considerable period of time. But I think there's a strong argument you just do it forever. Yeah, that's a nice idea. Let's just make this note. This nice tapping, this sort of change of the text box is very distracting. Yeah, Keith, I think I would agree. I think even though probably strictly speaking, adding a deprecation notice isn't a breaking change, it kind of feels like one. I guess though, if it starts logging stuff to the console, which it wasn't before, that is breaking its behavior or certainly changing it. Maybe not breaking it. But yeah, I think I would say, so we're on version 2 right now, hypothetically. I think V3, you would say, okay, we're adding these deprecations and this is the plan. And then hypothetically V4 would be, these are now gone and the deprecations are gone. So you need to update your code. Yeah. This one feels good to me. I think we land support for you could probably like land support for the one method and update the docs to use the one method. And that's just a new thing you push as a new version, as a feature version. Or minor version. And then then potentially in the far-flung future, you do remove being able to invoke the original builder. But kind of, Paul, I kind of agree with you that you could just update all the docs to remove any reference to it, but still keep it around so no one gets angry and that things are broken. One other thing I realized I forgot to do with this branch is do the changelog. So let's say Whoops. Oh no, I need to shift. There we go. Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, there's also this other breaking change which had a PR for a year ago now, which removes so build used to support taking in a factory name as a start. I think it still does. Does it still do that? Is build? There we go. Yeah, so we used to support, when I first created the library, we supported this where you could say build a user and then here's all the options. And to be honest, even when I did that, I didn't rely or didn't use that user field. My kind of vision here was that we could add better debugging, or that name would come in useful. So I wanted people to add it. Loads of people didn't see the point of it because it was never used, which I completely get. So then we now support both of these. But there is this PR from over a year ago now that I probably should have dealt with that just literally removes the ability to do the first one. Again, like, is that worth doing? People have code around that does the first one and like it. Are we removing something for the sake of it? Needs a bit of thought. I kind of think it's a fine balance between sort of keeping the code and the different branches down, but also just not annoying people with changes for the sake of it when they don't really provide any benefit. Similarly, I think another potentially breaking change, I can't quite figure out if this is breaking or not. I would err on the side of it being breaking. Where is it? Is we have a few any's in the code base. It would be really nice if we could change these to unknowns. But I think that probably would break downstream users somewhere. But I don't fully understand enough about how this would impact things yet. Anyway, plenty to think about. That is a solid hour of open sourcing. So the pull request is passing. I'm not going to merge it just yet. But I think it has all passed the checks. It has passed the checks. Excellent. Just going to check the output of these just to make sure they look about right. Run build. Test with coverage. Oh, hear a dog barking. Great. 100% coverage. Great. So I'll leave it there for this evening. Keith and Paul, thank you particularly for all your API suggestions and design decisions and thoughts. I think we definitely landed on a nice API as a result, which I wouldn't have done otherwise. I think in particular, the fact we landed on this one many is really, really useful and sort of a really good direction for this library to go in. So thank you for your help. Design by committee success. Not always successful, but sometimes it is. It was today. So annoyingly, OBS isn't working for me in that I can't see the names of all the people who are watching. So for those who said hi in the chat, thanks for joining. For those who are here whose names I can't see because OBS isn't showing me, thanks. I hope that was interesting. If you did miss any of it, I will try to get in the habit now, particularly these shorter streams on a focused thing. I'm going to try and dump it onto YouTube as well. So I'll post about it on socials so you can see the link, or you can find me if you search Jack Franklin on YouTube. It'll be there as well. And I'll be streaming some more open source probably next week, I expect, and trying to get into the habit of doing this most weeks. So with that, I'll leave you there. Thanks everyone again for joining. Have a great day or evening, depending on your time zone, and I will see you all soon. Bye.